ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागणरघुनाथान्वितं सतं सजीवम् साधुवेतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्कायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य ईश्वरं गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांता स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेमा प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्वसे नमः। Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. So last two verses, verse 6 and 7, we discussed the vision of a pure devotee of the Lord. We discussed how a Mahabhagavat, how a top class devotee or a spiritualist sees this world, sees the people and objects in this world. And how does he see? He sees everybody as part and parcel of the Lord, and he sees Lord inside everyone. Then in purport, Prabhupada had also talked about the various types or classes of devotees, that there are the low class devotees, which is Kanishta Adhikari, intermediate devotees, which is Madhyam Adhikaris, and the top class or Uttam Adhikaris, the pure devotees, the Mahabhagavad devotees of the Lord. And we were understanding how to raise ourselves from the Kanishta platform to the Uttam Adhikari platform. How to develop this vision in which we see everybody as child of God, we see God's presence in everything and everyone. We develop this concept of Atmani. Atmani means seeing everything in relation to the Lord, that everything can be used in service of the Lord. And we were taking Prabhupada as the prime example, that if you want to look at somebody's life who had this type of vision, and what did they do? How did they train themselves to get that vision? And how did they utilize that vision in their life? Then best example is Prabhupada, right? How did he train? Anupashyati. Both the verses had the word Anupashyati. How do you train yourself to have that vision that these topmost spiritualists have? Is by taking the shelter of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So with the Shastra Chakshu or with Gyan Chakshu, with Premanjana Churita Bhakti Velochanena, with that you can see Lord's presence, presence of divine, presence of divinity in everything and everyone. And then you will be able to treat people according to their calibers, their potentials, not just on bodily platform, but how can they be used based on their bodily tendencies in service of the Lord. So that is the true meaning of samdarshana, pandita samadarshana. It doesn't mean that everybody is just equal. It means that they are equally useful. They can be used in service of the Lord. They're equal in quality. They're same in quality, and they have the potential to be engaged in service of the Lord. And that is the best good to others by that's the best charity if everybody can be engaged in chanting Harinam in services of the Lord. So we took the example of Narad Muni, Mrigari, how he gave them the Harinam without distinguishing on the bodily platform that he's a hunter. कि hunter है तो उसको हरि नाम नहीं देंगे, ऐसा नहीं है. Yeah, he's papi, yeah, he's sinful, so he's not qualified to chant Hari Nam. Nothing like that. Everybody is qualified to chant Hari Nam, so he gave him Hari Nam. So that is the vision of a topmost devotee. This is called spiritual vision, right? And this is what is pleasing to Krishna. On the basis of the three classification of the devotees, the Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam Adhikari, we also understood some external etiquettes, that how one behaves outwardly, what is our conduct with other people, what is our maryada, what is our behavior or etiquette, that is decided by our, that is an external feature, but internally we treat everyone equally. With sensitivity and look at their spiritual welfare. But externally, we may have some code of conduct that we follow. Like if it's a sannyasi, for example, their external etiquette is that they will not be in, one-on-one company with a female, let's say. Or if it is a very atheistic person, you will not engage with them very much. You will not try to teach them or preach them, cultivate them, right? Because they are right now averse to this knowledge, to this understanding. But if they are devotees, then you will be friendly to them. If they are neophytes or very simple people, new people, innocent people, they want to learn, they have some desire, some faith, then you will try to cultivate that faith and you will try to engage them in services, give them prasadam, give them a little taste of Hari Kirtan, Hari Katha, and Hari Nam. So in this way, you will behave appropriately. If it is a very pure devotee, then you will hear from them submissively, serve them, follow their instructions, follow in their footsteps, like that. So we should have external conduct and internals. Both of them should be nicely situated. So if you are a mature devotee, if you have been following the path and understanding these subtle concepts of devotional service, then your externals and internals both need to be nicely aligned, and you need to know how to behave with whom. The external conducts also matter. Actually, since tomorrow is Gaur Purnima, this topic was very dear to Mahaprabhu. Did you all know that that Mahaprabhu established Vaishnava etiquettes? So he gave 3 instructions to the Goswamis. So can anybody mention those 3 instructions? Because Mahaprabhu is not just, yes, he spread Sankirtan movement, but there are many other things also Mahaprabhu accomplished in that short tenure that he had, in the short time that he manifested his Leelas. There are 3 main instructions he gave to the Goswamis, his 6 disciples. So let's hear from different people. I'm sure everybody should know this. If we are inspired by the teachings of Mahaprabhu, then we should know what those teachings are. What he taught to his disciples is what he's teaching to us also, right? So if we are inspired, encouraged by his teachings, and we want to imbibe those in our life, let's understand those teachings. So I think Nirbhay Prabhu wants to start. Yes, please answer. Tell us one of those 3 teachings to the Goswamis.
So I'll start. I'll just mention the one that you are already saying. So he gave the instruction to write the book on Vaishnava etiquettes.
Not only the book, to show Vaishnava etiquettes, conduct by their own conduct. So to establish Vaishnava etiquettes in society. Yes, Nirbhay Prabhu, thank you. Yeah. So the book is one thing, but to establish Vaishnava etiquettes, the proper conduct, how to behave with other devotees and with non-devotees, establish that proper behavior, the maryada, by their own etiquettes. So the Goswamis exemplified that. So to establish Vaishnava etiquette, that's one. Who can mention number 2? What was the other instruction he gave to the Goswamis? I know Poonam Mataji knows and Rekha Mataji knows. So please answer. Please be active and participating in the class. Poonam Mataji, want to answer? Goswamis को और क्या बोला था महाप्रभु ने करने को?
माताजी उन्होंने बोला था कि वृंदावन धाम जाकर उनके जो लीला स्थल है उनका वो करना फिर से.
Yes. और बताइए कुछ, या क्या करना था लीला स्थल पे?
ज्यादा नहीं पता नहीं.
I can't hear you properly. So he said to excavate or to establish the Radha Krishna's pastime places in Vrindavan, right? So they established so many temples. That's why we have the 7 principal temples of our Goswamis in Vrindavan. So all these places, Vrindavan mein, ye sari jo Radha Krishna ke pastime places hain, they had become covered by the dense forest. They had become lost over time. So he told them to uncover these places of pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So all these Leela Sthalis, pastime places that you see in the modern Vrindavan when you go, they are because of the instructions of Mahaprabhu. For example, जैसे कि बमसीवट हो गया, कालिया घाट हो गया, राधा कुंड, श्याम कुंड, we have heard that story many times. So all these places were discovered by the Goswamis, and to establish the temples, at these places, right? To establish deity worship in these temples. ये एक अलग instruction थी. एक और instruction, which is very famous and which we are utilizing today, is to write all the Vedic literature, right? To write Vedic literature in the easy to understand language. So they wrote a lot in Bengali or Sanskrit. So that's why Jeev Goswami, Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami gave us so much literature. So to give us all the Vedic literature in easy to understand language. So these were some of the instructions of Mahaprabhu to the Goswamis. Okay, so Vaishnav conduct was very important to him. So this is why Prabhupada had talked about that in last 2 verses purport. Now let's talk about verse 8. So verse 8 is again a continuation. So in this, it is said that such a person who has this type of vision, who is a topmost devotee, topmost practitioner of self-realization, such a person can fully understand the great supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, and Lord reciprocates with the desires of the people and maintains them. So this is what this verse is saying. Let's read it. Let's recite it. So this is long, and its meter is a little bit difficult to understand. So I am reciting it in Brahma Samhita meter. Saparyagat Shukram Akayam Avranam
Prayaja Chukram Akaya Varnam
Asnaviram Shuddham Apapavidham Asnaviram Shuddham Apapavidham Kavir Manishi Paribhu Swayambhur Kavir Manishi Paribhu Swayambhur Yatha Tathayato Rathan Vyadadat Chashvatibhya Samabhya Yatha Tathayato Rathan Vyadadat Chashvatibhya Samabhya. So Sheetal Mataji asking, what was the third instruction? So Mataji, one instruction is to establish Vaishnav conduct, Vaishnav etiquettes. Second is to excavate the pastime places of Radha Krishna and Vrindavan and establish temples with deity worship. The third instruction is to write the Vedic literature in easy to understand, like local languages. Basically to write more books, to write books on Vedic literature. So many. So writing books, and this concept of books has started from Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu wanted his disciples to be prolific writers, actually. And so did Prabhupada. That's why Prabhupada wrote so much. And that's why his Guru Maharaj also gave him the same instruction that when you get money, print books, write books. So he wrote so many books. And you see that in our tradition, this is continuing. For example, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj wrote those 2 books on his experience, right? Journey Home, Journey Within. So everyone should have those 2 books and should hear those books. It's amazing, extraordinary, wonderful experiences of Maharaj that are in that book, how he came to Krishna consciousness, his whole journey. So Journey Home and Journey Within. So similarly, there are so many other disciples that are still continuing the work, disciples and great grand disciples of Prabhupada that are still writing more and more literature. Like somebody's writing purports on Mahabharata, somebody's writing on Ramayana, somebody's writing on various other Upanishads that Prabhupada has not given us. somebody's, and then people are writing articles for Back to Godhead magazine. So like that, you see Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, Gaurang Darshan Prabhu. I was telling only Nagachand Prabhu this morning that they write so much, such wonderful articles, Gaurang Darshan Prabhu and Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. So like that, we are supposed to be prolific readers and share our realizations, if possible, whether verbally or in written form. But that's how we propagate the movement. So we have to keep the movement alive. This is Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, and we have to keep it alive by various means. So to write books was the instruction given by Mahaprabhu. Okay, so who wants to read this translation? And whoever reads, please read the first paragraph of the purport also. Please keep on volunteering to read one after another so we can keep moving with the class.
I can read. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Here is a description of the transcendental and eternal form of the absolute personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is not formless. He has his own transcendental form, which is not at all similar to the forms of the mundane world. The forms of the living entities in this world are embodied in material nature, and they work like any material machine. The anatomy of a material body must have a mechanical construction with veins and so forth. But the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord has nothing like veins. It is clearly stated here that he is unembodied, which means that there is no difference between his body and his soul. Nor is he forced to accept a body according to the laws of nature as we are. In materially conditioned life, the soul is different from the gross embodiment and subtle mind. For the Supreme Lord, however, there is never any such difference between him and his body and mind. He is the complete whole, and his mind, body, and he himself are one and the same. Hare Krishna. So here it is being described how the Supreme Lord, there is no difference between the body of Krishna and his, like it is, his body is not a material body. Like for us, we have our soul is there, which is us, and then we have a material body that is covering the soul. So that is the embodiment of our soul. But for Krishna, there is no difference between the soul and Krishna himself. So Krishna is, he comes as it is, and for this material body, the Ashtvika, the changes happen. The which you talk about, birth, death, old age, producing things, all the types of changes happen, and 6 types of changes happen. But for Krishna's body, such changes do not happen, or they happen for his own will. Like he's born, and then we know that he is born in a 400 form initially, then he takes a 200 form, and then so that's per his own will. He can take whatever form he wants. We can't take any form that we want. And then he grows, and we know that his body is at always 16 nav yavanamcha. He remained for 128 years, or so long, and then his body never changed. His body didn't grow old. So that pastime, that remember that pastime from Srila Prabhupada, when initially the people who were drawing for all these books that Prabhupada was translating, they were making Krishna's pictures, and they made it with as an old man with a beard. That's the thought that in that when you see Christian literature or Christian paintings of God, then that's how they make it, like a very wise old person. So Prabhupada said, no. Krishna is Nav Yavanamcha. He's always in a youthful stage. His body doesn't change like that. So they think it's God is so old Puran, he's a Adi Purush. So, it will get old, the body. But Krishna's body is not like that. It always remains the same. So, just, so yeah, those are the things coming to mind. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Nagachan Prabhu, for sharing.
One realization I was thinking also was during reading this, was the mention of veins. So the interesting thing is that they mention about veins, that his body doesn't have veins. And Prabhupada has mentioned the purport that it's not a material body. My material body will have all these things, including veins. And from a physician and cardiologist standpoint, I was thinking veins are supposed to be more impure in general because they carry the less oxygenated blood, and so they're considered kind of slightly more impure. And it's kind of interesting that here it's mentioned that the Lord doesn't have veins. Hare Krishna.
Okay, yes, thank you. So I want you to look at these 10 words that are used to describe Krishna. Shukram means omnipotent, so who has all the potencies. AKAAYAM, AKAAYAM. Kaya means body, so or a material body. He does not have a material body. He has a form, but not a material body. AKAAYAM. Avranam. Avranam means without veins, like Nirbhay Prabhu was saying, without veins. So which means he does not possess any of those qualities of a material body, the limitations of a material body. Like we are dependent on the arteries to supply blood to some organ, veins to take away the contaminated blood from an organ back to the heart to get purified, all that stuff. We need cartilage and muscles and bones and tissue. And if something breaks, if the muscle degenerates, or if we have a fracture, the bone breaks, or if the spine breaks, we will be dysfunctional, we'll be bed bound, or we'll be needing a lot of treatment, will become handicapped, right? Similarly, we are relying on those veins and arteries to carry the blood back and forth from heart into the organ and like that. But and if those arteries get blocked with the high blood pressure, diabetes, atherosclerosis, whatnot, then our body cannot function. We have a heart attack if the arteries get blocked. So in this way, we are so much dependent on this material body, and the body is very fallible. But our material body is very error prone. It is very easy to get damaged, destroyed, and many ways it can be. It can inflict pain on us. That is why sometimes teachers say that there are more ways to inflict pain on the body, and only very few ways in which the body can enjoy. So actually sense enjoyment is only possible from these 10 or 11 senses, right? 5 senses. And actually if you just say 5 senses, that's enough. So only from those 5 senses you can have some enjoyment. And maybe from, if you are intellectual, you may have some enjoyment from your mental or intellectual pursuits, or from doing some work with your bodily parts also. So like that, maximum 10, 11 types of enjoyments are possible. But types of torture or inflicting pain on the body are multifarious, like many ways in which we can inflict pain on the body. So his body is not like that. Okay, his body is always anandamay. His body is Satchit Anand. Okay, it is always blissful, it is always full of knowledge, and it is eternal. It cannot be destroyed. It does not go through those 6 changes that Nirbhay Prabhu was talking about. What are those 6 changes? Birth. So first of all, we take birth, then we grow, then we stay in a certain age, like we stay in a certain position, we stay. Then we have some byproducts, byproducts as in some offsprings, bacche hote hain matlab. And then it will start dwindling, matlab start decaying or deteriorating, start degrading over time, and then finally vanishes or dies. So body will have this birth, growth, this byproducts, this dwindling, this vanishing. But Lord's body does not go through those type of changes. Even if you seemingly think that his body is also changing, it's because of his own internal potency that he wants to have certain pastimes in different ages with his devotees. Like he wants to be a Bal Gopal, so he can enjoy the Bal Leelas with Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Maiya. Or he may be a youthful, a Kishore, if he wants to have, conjugal pastimes with Radharani. Like that. So his Poganda Leelas are different, his Kishore Leelas are different, and then there are Bal Leelas and like that. So his body is, so this is a very important point, and Prabhupada is focused on this point that he's AKAAYAM, his body is not material, it is avranam, it does not have those material components, it is not made of matter, those panch dhatu, panch mahadhatu, it's not made of those. And then, so these are the three qualities, it's Shuddh, it's pure, Shukram, and Asnaviram. Asnaviram means beyond, Asnaviram means without veins, sorry. Avranam means beyond reproach. Asnaviram means without veins. Avranam means beyond reproach. Beyond reproach means he is not under any laws. He cannot be controlled by anything, by Maya, by people, by any demigods, or by any kind of forces of this world or laws. He does not come under the control of the laws of this world. He is beyond reproach. He is the supreme controller, Maheshwar. He's not controlled or reproached or chastised or, or maintained by anybody. He is the maintainer. He can fulfill everyone's desires since time immemorial. Yatha tathyato. Yatha tathyato, as somebody desires, arthan means desire. As somebody desires, he will fulfill those people's desires accordingly. And he's been doing that from time immemorial. Shashwat means immemorial. Samabhya. Since time immemorial, he has been fulfilling people's desires. And then Nirbhay Prabhu has already explained this concept that how his body is not material. And just like our body and soul are different, our soul is Satchidanand, but body is made of matter. His body and soul are one and the same thing. Spiritual body of Krishna and soul is same thing. So he's Satchidanand. Okay. He has a form. He's not just a light or just blankness or darkness. He is a form. And that form is a Satchidanand Roop. It is called Satchidanand Vigraha. That's Brahmaji says. What does he says? Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Like that. Okay, let's keep reading. Who wants to read next? Sheetal Mataji, want to read? Or Ravi Prabhu, if you're there?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Mataji, please read two paragraphs because this is a long purport. So, yeah, please.
So from in the Brahma Samhita, वहाँ से Mataji?
हाँ, यहाँ से आप 2 पैरास पढ़ लो.
अच्छा. In the Brahma Samhita 5.1, there is a similar description of the Supreme Lord. He is described there as Satchidananda Vigraha, which means that he is the eternal form fully representing transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss. As such, he does not require a separate body or mind as we do in material existence. The Vedic literature clearly states that the Lord's transcendental body is completely different from ours. Thus, he is sometimes described as formless. This means that he has no form like ours and that he is devoid of a form we can conceive of. In the Brahma Samhita 5.32, it is further stated that with each and every part of his body, he can do the work of other senses. This means that the Lord can walk with his hands, accept things with his legs, see with his hands and feet, eat with his eyes, etc. In the Shruti mantras, it is also said that although the Lord has no hands and legs like ours, he has a different type of hands and legs by which he can accept all that we offer him and run faster than anyone. These points are confirmed in this 8th mantra through the use of words like Shukram, omnipotent. The Lord's worshipable form, Archa Vigraha, which is installed in temples by authorized acharyas, who have realized the Lord in terms of Mantra 7 is not different from the original form of the Lord. The Lord's original form is that of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna expands himself into an unlimited number of forms such as Baldev, Ram, Narsimha, and Varaha. All of these forms are one and the same personality of Godhead. Similarly, the Archa Vigraha worshipped in the temples is also an expanded form of the Lord. By worshipping the Archa Vigraha, one can at once approach the Lord who accepts the service of a devotee by his omnipotent energy. The Archa Vigraha of the Lord descends at the request of the Acharyas, the holy teachers, and works exactly in the original way of the Lord by virtue of the Lord's omnipotence. Foolish people who have no knowledge of Sri Isopanishad or any of the other Shruti mantras considers the Archa Vigraha, which is worshipped by pure devotees, to be made of material elements. This form may be seen as material by the imperfect eyes of foolish people or Kanishta Adhikaris, but such people do not know that the Lord, being omnipotent and omniscient, can transform matter into spirit and spirit into matter as he desires. Hare Krishna. Back to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for reading. So this verse, this paragraph, Prabhupada is further mentioning the point. We talked about this. Ishvara Parama Krishna is the first verse of Brahma Samhita, that how Lord's body is transcendental. He does not have a separate body, separate mind, separate intelligence, separate subtle body, gross body like we do, right? Our goal is to get rid of this material body. He is always spiritual. Whenever he comes to this world, his body is always spiritual. So he has basically mentioned this point, and then he's quoted this beautiful verse. I'll pull it for you. This is the verse, very famously quoted. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindamadi purusham tam ham bhajami. So this verse says, this is the verse Prabhupada is quoting, that with any of his sense organs, with not organs in the sense that we understand, but with any of his senses, he can do the function of other senses because he is omnipotent. He has so many different types of, he has so much different types of potencies and powers. His body is not limited like ours. We have covered this concept before. So ऐसा नहीं है कि आंख से सिर्फ देख ही सकते हो. He can eat with his eyes. That's why when we offer to the Arch Vigraha, the Bhoga, he can accept with his eyes. He does not need to open his mouth and eat. So he is not limited like we are, that we can only eat with our mouth. If we put it in our nose, it will be a problem. We can't hear with our eyes, or we can't walk with our head, or, so we are very limited. Certain function is assigned to a certain part of our body, and only that part can do that function only for a certain period of time. After that function starts declining, or if it gets affected by the diseases of this world or anything, it gets damaged. So we have very limited body. That's why we are very small, and he is infinite. We are infinitesimal, because so his body is always Satchidanand. No concept of disease or dwindling or degrading or getting damaged. None of that, because it is not made of matter. It is Satchidanand. So here also, Anand Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya, whose form is always full of dazzling splendor and is always Sat, always Chinmay. It's Chinmay, okay? And with any part of his body, he can do function of the other parts, okay? Then the next verse, Prabhupada has not quoted this, but I really love this verse. This is 5.33. Pehle tha 5.32 now. This is 5.33. Advaitam achyutam anadim anant rupam. Roop, जिसका रूप है, form है. आद्यम पुराण पुरुषम नव यौवनम च, जो हमेशा नव यौवन रहते हैं, like Nirbhay Prabhu was saying, always youthful, eternally youthful. Okay, his age in spiritual world is always fixed at 16 years. So Adyam Purana Purusham, he's always a youthful, young, most attractive. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktao. So even with Vedas, he is durlabh, he cannot be understood. But he is adurlabh or easily understood by Atma Bhaktao, by his dearmost devotees. Govindamadi Purusham Tamham Bhajami. So like that. So this is the understanding Prabhupada has shared, that he can perform any function with any of his body parts. And then Prabhupada has talked about Arch Vigraha. So we know that Arch Vigraha, just like all his other expansions like Balram or Ram or Varahadev or Vamandev or Narsingh Avatar, so many expansions are there, so many incarnations are there. Similarly, Arch Vigraha is an expansion from the Lord, by which we can tangibly reciprocate with the Lord, by which we can serve the Lord directly, because we can right now only perceive material things. So he changes this matter into something so spiritual that we can serve this form of the Lord, which to untrained eyes will look like this is just matter. Untrained person will see only marble or only wood or only stone. But a trained person with trained vision, remember we talked about vision of a topmost spiritualist. A topmost spiritualist can see, because of his trained vision, that this is not just a stone or a marble or a rock or something. This is the expansion of the Lord himself by his omnipotency, because Prabhupada is saying he's omnipotent, he's Shukram. He has expanded himself into this form for my benefit, so I can serve him. I can serve him tangibly. I can do a daily service to him by which I can purify myself. It's not like he needs something from us, but this form is given to us by Lord. So seemingly it looks like Lord needs bhoga from us, or we have to put him to bed and we have to, we sing to him or we wake him up in the morning. Things like that are done for the Arch Vigraha. So seemingly it looks like Lord is under our care, under our maintenance. So this is a supreme mercy of the Lord, that he has given us this form by which it looks like we are taking care of the Lord. This is our dearmost Lord. This is my Gopal. People take care of Laddu Gopal. This is my Radha Krishna. This is my Gaur Nitai, and I'm taking care of them. When people go somewhere, they give their deities to somebody to take care of during those times. So these are our Lord himself. We cannot just leave him alone. He has to eat, he has to sleep, his clothes need to be changed and need to be bathed, and all the Panchratri ki vidhi needs to be done. So they can see the presence of Lord. Okay, it's not just matter. So Lord has converted matter into something spiritual, and trained people can see that this is Lord himself. And there are so many stories of reciprocation of the Arch Vigraha with the. One day we will take this class. I have intention to take this class one day where we can see the exchanges with Arch Vigraha with their dearmost devotees, like the Shir Chor Gopinath with Madhvendra Puri. Madhvendra Puri's disappearance day was, I think, yesterday or day before yesterday. So you know the famous story of Shir Chor Gopinath, the Lord who stole kheer for his devotee. So that's Kheer Chor or Shir Chor Gopinath. He brought kheer for Madhvendra Puri. Similarly, Gopal, that came as evidence, as Sakshi for that poor Brahman. Remember the poor young Brahman? Gopal came as Sakshi because Brahman believed in him. He knew that my Lord had heard the vow being made in front of him. He's Sakshi to the vow that was made. So he will come as Sakshi in front of the whole village, and he did. That's Sakshi Gopal. Like that, there are so many stories of Sanatan Goswami with his Madan Mohan deities. So many stories are there of Gopal Bhatt Goswami, even with his Shaligram Shila. Like that. We'll discuss one day some stories. But let's keep reading. Can somebody read next two? Who wants to read? Let's see who hasn't read. Rekha Mataji, you want to read?
Mataji, I'm driving.
Okay. Neelveni Mataji, want to read? Are you available?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Starting from in the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna devotee, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
In the Bhagavad Gita 9.11 to 12, the Lord regrets the fallen condition of men with little knowledge who deride him because it descends like a man into this world. Such poorly informed persons do not know the omnipotence of the Lord. Thus, the Lord does not manifest himself in full to the mental speculators. He can be appreciated only in proportion to one's surrender to him. The fallen condition of the living entities is due entirely to forgetfulness of their relationship with God. In this mantra, as well as in many other Vedic mantras, it is clearly stated that the Lord has been supplying goods to the living entities from time immemorial. A living being desires something, and the Lord supplies the objects of that desire in proportion to one's qualification. If a man wants to be High Court judge, he must acquire not only the necessary qualifications, but also the consent of the authority who can award the title of High Court judge. The qualifications in themselves are insufficient for one to occupy the post. It must be awarded by some superior authority. Similarly, the Lord awards enjoyment to living entities in proportion to their qualifications, but good qualifications in themselves are not sufficient to enable one to receive awards. The mercy of the Lord is also required. Hari Bol.
Very bold. Thank you, Prabhuji. So these two paragraphs, Prabhupada is saying that when Lord, what to say of Arch Vigraha, when Lord himself comes, people deride his form, or they say that he's just an ordinary human. So 9.11 is Avjananti mamumuda manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mam bhuta maheshwaram. Avjananti mamumuda, the foolish people do not know me as I am, right? So since they do not understand me, they do not know my param bhav, my supreme nature, that I am param bhavam ajananto, that I'm the Maheshwar, I'm the topmost, I'm the supreme person. They don't know that. And so they deride me. They think I'm just an ordinary human. Tanusham ashritam, that I have taken a body, human body. So manusham tanum ashritam, since I've taken a manushya body, human body, they think I'm a human. So these people are poorly informed, foolish people who have basically not received training, right? They have not taken shelter of any guru or devotees or scriptures, and they're just mental speculators. They're just using their own brain and logics, which is very limited, as we know. People rely on their own brain or on their own efforts, which is in itself not enough. So in the next paragraph, Prabhupada is saying that you could make as many efforts you want through mental speculation or various other ascetic practices, sit in dhyan or attain gyan, or do various types of difficult bodily postures, or very, very harsh tapasya people do, austerities people take, right, to realize the God. But God can only be realized by his own causeless mercy. So to the degree we have surrender, we we let it go from this world, and we accept the mercy of the Lord, we hanker for mercy of the Lord, to that degree Lord favors us and reveals himself. So our own efforts are in itself not enough. And that is true for any situation. Like you see in case of Arjun, you know how he lost, he could not even lift his bow, his gandiv, because Lord was gone. So when the mercy of the Lord is taken away, you may be very skilled. You may think I can do everything by myself. I'm very, very hardcore, disciplined person, or very, very strong mentally, or very, very intelligent, or intellectually accomplished, or skillful, whatever you think, you know, by my own efforts, I can get things done. That thing may not get done unless you have approval, the sanction, the mercy of the Lord. So we are made of mercy. We should always hanker. We should always ask for mercy of the Lord, mercy of the devotees. We should always be in that mood of humility. That is called humility. That without mercy, I'm not capable of doing anything. Our body, our efforts, our intelligence, our skills can only take us so far, and those should be utilized to ask for mercy of the Lord. But His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj says, you may think that it's 99% your efforts and 1% Lord's mercy, but that 1% of Lord's mercy trumps the 99% of your efforts. So बिना उस 1% की mercy के बाकी का 99% effort is बेकार. And that 1% of mercy of Lord is so infinite, it is more than the 99% of your efforts. So you should still put effort, but the effort should be directed in asking for mercy of the Lord. In a very humble way, that I'm doing this, but I depend on you completely. I depend on you completely. I do not know if by myself I can do anything. That should be the mood. So then let's keep reading. Who wants to read the next? So far we are understanding in this verse the qualities of the Lord. There are 10 qualities mentioned, especially of his body, that how he is unembodied, he's omniscient, omnipotent, without veins, pure, uncontaminated, and how we should know that his body is Satchidanand, and foolish people don't know that. That's what Prabhupada has said so far. Okay, who wants to read next? Mama, would you like to read? Okay, we have 3 more paras to go, so somebody read this.
I can read, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Ordinarily, the living being does not know what to ask from the Lord, nor which post to seek. When the living being comes to know his constitutional position, however, he asks to be accepted into the transcendental association of the Lord in order to render transcendental loving service unto him. Unfortunately, living beings under the influence of material nature ask for many other things, and they are described in the Bhagavad Gita 2.41 as having divided or splayed intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is one, but mundane intelligence is diverse. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30 and 31, it is stated that those who are captivated by the temporary beauties of the external energy forget the real aim of life, which is to go back to Godhead. Forgetting this, one tries to adjust things by various plans and programs, but this is like chewing what has already been chewed. Nonetheless, the Lord is so kind that he allows the forgetful living entity to continue in this way without interference. Thus, this mantra of Sri Isopanishad uses the very appropriate word yatha tat yataha, indicating that the Lord rewards the living entities just in pursuance of their desires. If a living being wants to go to hell, the Lord allows him to do so without interference, and if he wants to go back home, back to Godhead, the Lord helps him. आगे पढ़ना है बताइए.
Okay, ये discuss कर लेते हैं, थोड़ा लंबा है, फिर उसके बाद 2 ही बचेंगे. Please decide who wants to read. So in this, Prabhupada is saying we don't know what to ask from the Lord, right? Why? Because we are so absorbed in this material world that we only want material things. We are not captivated by this beauty of the form of the Lord. That's why Prabhupada has given us so many deities, so we can be captivated by the deity worship. That's why for neophytes it is recommended they should do deity worship, because deity worship is very purifying actually. It helps us to attract ourselves away from our own bodily attributes and focus on the body of the deities. Like I remember one Mataji, very senior, she shared with me once that she used to, she used to shop a lot. She was like a shopaholic. अपने लिए कभी jewelry लेना, कभी साड़ी लेना, बड़ी सारी चीजें लेते रहती थी. Then she started engaging in deity worship, and now all she can think is how to dress my Radha Krishna, how to make jewelry for them. So the same, concept now she's applying. She's shifted from herself to Krishna service. So in this way, she's now using her saris to make, beautiful things and whatnot. So instead of buying stuff for herself, now she's buying for for Radha Krishna. She's decorating them, then decorating herself. So like that, we are so absorbed in this world that we just take things for ourselves and ask things for ourselves. We are not attracted or attached to the form of the Lord. All these qualities that are described here, that is why we read these things over and over again, that Lord is Satchidanand, He's omnipotent, He's omniscient, He's pure, so that we can eventually get attracted to Him rather than just focusing on ourselves. So our intelligence is very splayed. Prabhupada is saying splayed matlab it is not resolute. It is not Vyavasyatmika buddhi. Prabhupada has quoted this beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. Vyavasyatmika buddhi ekah kurunandana bahushakha anantascha buddhayo avyavasayanam. Avyavasai buddhi is bahushakha. Those are avyavasai buddhi means people that do not have one pointed intelligence. They are irresolute in their purpose. They are not very determined. So they keep fluctuating between material world and this world. So they keep taking a lot from the material world and not focus so much on the spiritual world. But spiritually minded people are very determined, very focused, Vyavasyatmika buddhi, and they are not bhoga aishwarya prasaktanam. They're not so absorbed in the bhoga and aishwarya of this world. Then Prabhupada has quoted this Prahlad Maharaj's verse. Prahlad says, Shri Prahlad Vacha Matirna Krishne Parta Swato Va Mito Bipade Vrite Grihanam Ananta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Punah Punascharvita Charvananam. Actually, I have it open somewhere. Yeah. This is the verse after that. He's quoted that verse also. Na te vidu swart katim hi Vishnu. Like this. So basically, punascharvita charvananam. That people who are so absorbed in this material world, they keep chewing the chewed. Just like ganna hota na sugar cane, you chew it, all the rasa is gone, but still you keep chewing. So we have hopes in this material world, and our hopes are never shattered. It's later said that even till the last date, people want to, even till the last day of their life, even though all the organs are gone, the hair is falling, the teeth are falling, people are still absorbed in this world and want to enjoy this world. So the hopes are not, the hopes of materially attached people are numerous. Their desires are numerous. हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले. बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान लेकिन फिर भी कम निकले. तो बहुत अरमान हैं, बहुत desires हैं. Very, very multifarious, numerous desires, variety of desires we have in this world to enjoy this world. And that's why we are so distracted all the time. So that is what Prabhupada is saying. But Krishna reciprocates with those people according to their desires. Yatha tathyata. Look at this word. Yatha tathyata. That he will reward according to your desires, according to the pursuance of your desires. So if you want to stay in this world and enjoy, then you will be given all the facilities to enjoy this world. Since you're so attached to this world, go on enjoying. If you are attached to coming to Krishna, he will give you that. If you want impersonal liberation, he will give you that. If you just want gyan, he will give you that. If you just want, a service of the Lord, you will get that also. Hetukiya pratihata service. So like that, he will reciprocate according to the desires. And he has been doing that since time immemorial. This verse is saying, Yatha tathyata ritan meaning arthan hai ye word ki aapki jo desires hain, according to that Lord will reciprocate with you, and he has been doing that since time shashwat kaal se samabhyaya, shashwat time se, immemorial time se he's been doing that, reciprocating with the people according to their desires. Okay, so that is the last line of this verse. Let's read these two paragraphs. Anybody wants to read this?
Yes, Hari Bol, yes. God is described here as Paribhu, the greatest of all. No one is greater than or equal to him. Other living beings are described here as beggars who ask goods from the Lord. The Lord supplies the things the living entities desire. If the entities even were equal to the Lord in potency, if they were omnipotent and omniscient, there would be no question of their begging from the Lord. Even for so-called liberation, real liberation means going back to Godhead. Liberation as conceived of by an impersonalist is a myth, and begging for sense gratification has to continue eternally unless the beggar comes to his spiritual senses and realizes his constitutional position. Should I continue or?
Let me just point couple of very beautiful lines here. So
Okay, Hari
at
Bol.
this point we know that God is greatest of all, right? Matta partaram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Mai is superior to all, right? Aham sarvasya prabhu. Everything comes from him. No one is greater or equal to him. You cannot compare anybody with him because he controls everything. He is the possessor of everything. Nobody can say that I am second after Krishna, that he is the topmost wealthy and I'm the second wealthy. No, you're not second wealthy because he is the only one that's wealthy. You have the wealth that you have also came from him. So you have his wealth. It's not like you're second in line. You're not second in line and he's first in line. So nobody can come even second. He's the topmost and there is no comparison. So nobody can claim that I'm second or third in line after Krishna because everything that anybody has is coming from him. So that's one point, that he's the greatest of all. And then Prabhupada, I really like this. Look at this phrase. He says, liberation as conceived by an impersonalist is a myth. So the impersonalist people, the impersonal mukti that they want to merge into Brahman is a myth. It is false. It is fake. It will end. It is also temporary. So it is not something worth hankering for. It is not real because it is not tangible. It is not something sustainable. So it is a myth, just like this material world is a myth, is false. It is not something that can sustain us forever. Similarly, that impersonal liberation is not something that can go on for a long time. So that is also myth. So they are hankering, just like a materialist wants sense gratification, they also are hankering for something that is very short term actually. And then second point that I really liked in this verse is that people that are engaged in sense gratification, unless they come to their spiritual senses, matlab, instead of catering to your bodily senses, start catering to your soul or start catering to your spiritual body, your spiritual senses. So I've never seen this word used like this, spiritual senses. It's typically used for Lord, that he has spiritual senses. But for devotees, it is not said like this. But here Prabhupada is saying that cater to your soul, not just to the body. And realize that the soul's constitutional position is to serve Krishna. So don't hanker for sense gratification, don't hanker for impersonal liberation. So those are the 2 points Prabhupada is refuted here. No sense gratification or avoid sense gratification, do not ask for that, do not hanker for that. Secondly, do not ask for impersonal liberation either. That is also a myth. Realize that your constitutional position, your nitya roop is to be servant of Krishna, so hanker for that. Ask for service. Ask for being a servant. That is what your soul wants, the spiritual senses want. The spiritual senses want to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Engage them in service. Don't take things away from them by giving impersonal mukti and stuff. Okay, let's read the last paragraph. Who wants to read?
Should I continue?
Sure.
Only the Supreme Lord is self-sufficient. When Lord Krishna appeared on earth 5,000 years ago, he displayed his full manifestation as the personality of Godhead through his various activities. In his childhood, he killed many powerful demons, such as Agasur, Bakasur, and Saktasur. And there was no question of having acquired such power through any extraneous endeavor. He lifted Govardhana hill without ever practicing weightlifting. He danced with the gopis without social restriction and without reapproach. Although the gopis approached him with the paramour's feeling of love, the relationship between gopis and the Lord Krishna was worshipped even by Lord Chaitanya, who was a strict sannyasi and rigid follower of disciplinary regulations. To confirm this, the Lord is always pure and uncontaminated. Shri Isopanishad describes him as Sadam, antiseptic, and apapa
Shuddham.
vidham.
Shuddham.
Shuddham, yes. Shuddham, antiseptic, and apapa vidham, prophylactic. He is antiseptic in the sense that even an impure thing can become purified just by touching him. The word prophylactic refers to the power of his association. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 9.30 to 31, a devotee may appear to be
Sudurachar.
Sudarchara, not well behaved in the beginning, but he should be accepted as pure because he is on the right path. This is due to the prophylactic nature of the Lord association. The Lord is also a Papa Vidham because sin cannot touch him, even if he acts in a way that appears to be sinful. Such actions are all good, for there is no question of his being affected by sin, because in all circumstances he is Shuddham, most purified. He is often compared to the sun. The sun extracts moisture from many untouchable places in the earth, yet it remains pure. In fact, it purifies obnoxious things by virtue of its sterilizing power. If the sun, which is a material object, is so powerful, then we can इसको ऊपर कर सकते बेटे? Then we can hardly begin to imagine the purifying strength of the all-powerful Lord. Hari Bol.
Very bold. Thank you. So this last paragraph is very wonderful. I really like it. So look, Prabhupada is saying, Krishna came and performed all these wonderful leelas, right? He lifted Govardhan, he's dancing with gopis, and millions of gopis he's dancing with at the same time. So to lift Govardhan Hill, it's not like he's lifting weights in the gym. So he's naturally, like, at all times he's Bhagwan, at all times he's completely powerful, and when he's dancing with the gopis, he's multiplying himself into so many expansions. It's not like he's learning, he's practicing dance the night before the Ras Leela or something. Or when he gives the Bhagavad Gita Updesh, it's not like he's practicing the verses, like I tend to forget. It's not like he's practicing, let's see, Dharam Chetre, Kurukshetre. He's not practicing like that. He can just, on the spot dance and expand himself into numerous forms and dance, fully reciprocate with each gopi completely, and then lift the mountain like a little mushroom on the little finger of his left hand, and no effort needed, no training, no practice, nothing needed, no hard endeavor needed. So this proves that Krishna is self-sufficient. He does not need anything. He does not depend on anything. And actually, there are many verses in chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita where he says that I'm not dependent, like the whole creation or this world is dependent on me, but I'm not dependent on them. Everything that is created does not rest in me. Myself is the very source of this creation. Understand that this mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky. All created beings rest in me. So everybody needs him. He does not need anyone. Everybody depends on him for their maintenance, for their shelter, for their to be able to sustain themselves, right? Whether it's trees or animals or birds or any living entity or even non-living entities, the whole material world depends on him, but he does not depend on anything. He's self-sufficient. He's Atmaram. He does not need anything. That's Atmaram. That's one aspect of this paragraph. The second aspect, I want you to focus on two words. One is Shuddham. The second word is Apap Vidham. Shuddham means he's antiseptic, like he's purifying. So when you have a scrape, let's say I get scraped here, then I'll put antiseptic on this to clean any bacteria or contamination, right? And it will heal that area. It will purify that area. So antiseptic is something that will purify or cleanse the contamination. So he's so shuddha, he's so pure that by coming in contact with him, everything becomes pure. Everything becomes cleansed of its contamination. So if we are always in Krishna consciousness, our consciousness will also become slowly cleansed. That's why we are recommended to stay as much in Krishna consciousness through different endeavors as possible. Yen ken prakarin mana Krishna niveshyet. Because as long as you're absorbed in Krishna, you're associating with Krishna through devotees, through prasadam, through scriptures, through deities, through Tulsi Puja, through Dham Yatra, through temples, through programs, through Kirtan, through Harinam. However, you can stay in Krishna consciousness, the more you will become Shuddh, because he is all Shuddh, he's antiseptic. So that's one aspect, okay? He is Shuddh and he does not get contaminated. That also you have to understand, okay? He does not get contaminated. So it's not like by coming in contact with this material world, he becomes material, or he can commit some sins, or he can fall down and perform some low activities, inferior activities, or criminal activities or something. No, that is not possible. That is not possible because that he does not come under the control of the three gunas. Because any lower activities, inferior activities, criminal activities, sinful activities, they happen under the control of three gunas. Since he is transcendental, divine to those three gunas, there is no possibility of him getting contaminated by those three gunas. So he cannot commit any kind of sins. He cannot come under the control of the three gunas. He cannot come under the control of Maya. He's beyond the laws of this world, like karma, etc., are not applicable on him. He is beyond the good and bad of this world. His activities are always divine. Janma karmacha me divyam evam yo veti tatvata. Whoever knows this, right? So he's beyond the good and bad, good and evil of this world. Good and evil, this duality exists in this world because of our us getting contaminated by this material world. We come under the control of Maya. We have become embodied. He is never embodied. So he's never he's always aloof from this material world. Even when he comes and performs his leelas, like with the gopis, those leelas should not be misunderstood or misinterpreted because he's not embodied soul like us. We are embodied, so we are given to contamination. We are given to inferior, sinful, lawless activities. He is not. So if you are looking at his activities and thinking they're illegal or lawless activities, no, they're not. That's your perception because you are under the control of Maya. So he is beyond the good and bad, those dualities of this world. This point is very, very important to understand, that he cannot get contaminated. That's why some people says, oh, Harinam, like for Harinam or for Bhagavad Gita, they'll say, I will not touch it because I ate meat or something. So you have to tell them, it's so pure, you cannot contaminate Harinam. You cannot contaminate Bhagavad Gita by marking or writing on it. No, it's going to purify you. It's so pure that you do not have the power to contaminate it. Of course, we still follow some code of conduct, especially with deities. We follow the code of conduct. But in general, the people of this world are so fallen that they are not able to, they cannot contaminate the divine, pure things that have come from the spiritual world. Harinam, scriptures, these cannot get contaminated by your body. They are beyond this world. So people are always looking for excuses. आज मैंने ये खाया है, आज मैं अपने periods पे हूँ, तो I will not touch Bhagavad Gita. Things like people are looking for excuses to avoid, being in Krishna consciousness. But this age, we do not have time to look for excuses that are limited to your body to stay away from Krishna. So those are just excuses of this world, the restrictions imposed by our body that we decide we can impose on the Lord. But Lord is always Shuddham. You cannot make him impure. Plus, he will purify you. Secondly, apap viddham. Apap viddham is prophylactic. So apap viddham means that he prevents. So this is the second concept, that he will purify you. He will prevent you from getting contaminated. So I've already covered this concept. One is that he is pure. The second is that he will purify you. Prophylactic is a word that is used in medicine many times when we take some medicine prophylactically, preventatively, to prevent getting that disease. Just like, for example, vaccines are taken prophylactically. They are preventative medicines, right? They prevent us from getting a disease. Like a flu vaccine will protect you from getting the flu, or COVID vaccine, or some people take malaria prophylaxis before they go to India. Sometimes we take prophylactic, various type of antibiotics, because we know that we are prone to certain infection in certain time, or people take prophylactic anti-allergics because they get allergies in certain seasons. So prophylactic word means to preventatively take an action to avoid that disease that you may be very prone to. That is very prevalent right now. So to prevent that disease, you do some prophylactic measures, like wearing a mask is a prophylactic measure, a preventative measure, so you don't get a flu or COVID or something. So you wear a mask. It's a prophylactic measure. So in this world, we have to do these prophylactic measures of Krishna consciousness. Okay, we have to wear this mask, this shield of Krishna consciousness when we go out in this world, because the world is very contaminating. The association of this world is very, very impure. It causes material disease, and we all have propensity to get material disease, material contamination. So to protect ourselves, we have to take the prophylactic measures of Krishna consciousness. That's why we have to chant our names in the morning, so that before we go to work, because you don't know what's going on there. Somebody may say something, you get influenced, and you fall off the path, fall off the spiritual path. So to stay in Krishna consciousness the whole day, we keep taking certain prophylactic measures. We take prophylactic medicine of Krishna consciousness throughout the day. थोड़ा थोड़ा करके सुबह हरि नाम chant किया, शाम को श्रीमद् भागवतम पढ़ा, at some point, and then eating prashadam also, and then maybe sometime associate with devotees, sometime read something on your own, sometime look at a picture of the deities on your phone. One way or the other, take prophylactic measures to stay in Krishna consciousness. Koi Vaishnav bhajan laga liya, koi verse yaad kar liya, like that, so that you don't get contaminated by the diseases of this world. So that is the apap viddham nature of Bhagwan, and shuddham nature, that he is all purifying and he will protect you, he will prevent you from getting any material disease. So he's pure, he can cure our material disease, and he can protect us from getting material disease. And then in the end, Prabhupada has given the example of sun. So this is a very famous example. Imagine there is a puddle of urine on the ground, and the sun is shining very brightly. After a few hours, you will see that the ground is dry, the puddle of urine is gone. Where did it go? Where did that urine is a contaminating, untouchable thing. Where did it go? Did the sun dry it? Did the sun sterilize that place or no? Sun with its heat, did it sterilize that place? Yes, right? It sterilized that place. Where did that urine go? Did it go and get stuck on the sun? No, sun is not affected by it. Sun purified that place and yet stayed aloof or unaffected by the contamination. So in this way, Prabhupada has taken this example, this analogy, that Lord is like sun. He cannot get impure, but he will purify you. And he will also prevent you from getting diseased. So he'll cure you, he'll prevent the disease, and he's pure himself. So this verse, in a nutshell, there are three aspects given. The form of the Lord is given, and form is described in, form is described in 10 adjectives have been given for the form. Omnipotent, omniscient, unembodied, without veins, all this, pure. Then second concept in this verse is that he is self-sufficient and maintains everyone. Everybody is maintained by him, and he does not depend on everyone. And he fulfills their desires. And third concept is that he is all pure, he cures the disease, and he prevents the disease. So that's in this verse, I thought the most important word is AKAAYAM. AKAAYAM means he does not have a body or kaya like ours. He does not have a material body like ours, but he has a form. And he's a person who maintains us, reciprocates with us, and fulfills all our desires, and has been fulfilling since time immemorial. Okay, that's all I have to share. Anybody wants to share anything, any questions, realizations? Who wants to share?
I think Shuddham and prophylactic are the another things that has been given in this verse. Of course, we know this thing, but he has mentioned it properly, because Shuddham and prophylactic are the things that is they are important for the God. Hari.
Very bold. Yes. So that's your takeaway point. Anybody else wants to give their takeaway from this? Nilveni Mataji, you want to share something?
No, Mataji, nothing.
Would you like to share a takeaway point? One point that you really liked about this verse. There are 3 or 4 points given.
No, you are talking about the sun on the ground when a pure, I mean, it won't take impure, but it makes us pure. That one I liked it.
Everybody liked the concept of Shuddh and prophylactic, apap viddham. So Bhagwan ko paap nahi lagta, right? Apap viddham. Okay, good. And who else? Sheetal Mataji, Ravi Prabhu, Rekha Mataji, you want to share anything? I don't know if Nagarchand Prabhu is sitting here as well. Anybody wants to share anything? Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Yeah.
After all devotees. Yes, thank you. I think it was a very, very nice verse. A lot of points being brought forward, and I think I like the most endearing was to me was that Lord does not have a form, like he doesn't have a material form. So he has a form, the wonderful two-handed form that we always meditate upon, the Sham Sundar Tribhanga Lalit Madhav form in Vrindavana, but he doesn't have a material form. So that's something I would like to meditate more upon. Hare Krishna.
You know, this concept that you just mentioned, I feel like it should be said in this way. He does not have a body, but he has a form. The body is typically material. I feel like aise bolne se it becomes clear. He does not have
Yeah.
a body in the way that we have a body, a material body, but he has a form.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Rekha Mataji, you were saying something. I couldn't hear you. I just texted you. Okay. If not, we'll chant.
Maybe I'll text later.
Mataji, if you have a question, please ask. Everybody will benefit. I think I know your question.
No. Like what you had said that, start early chanting or throughout the day and spend some time reading the scripture of later version so that our consciousness stays clear.
Yeah, your voice is very, very far away, but I think you are sharing about the fact that we should stay in Krishna consciousness one way or the other throughout the day, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, your voice is very far. Okay. Okay, then we'll stop because we have to meet tomorrow also. And please let me know if any questions about any services or anything. I'll stop here and we can stay and chant one round if you all please. Vancha kaltarubhyasya kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah gurve gaurachandraya radhikaya tadharvai krishna krishnaya tadvittaya namo namah. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining.